Joe Rogan made a pretty interesting statement on his show. Him and somebody else were talking about you, and I think the other guy was saying that you eat liver and that you do some of these ancestral tenets, and Joe Rogan said something to the effect of,
the Liver King thing drives me nuts because that guy's on steroids.
Well,
just shut the fuck up.
like, what do you think of that comment?
First of all, I just want to say I think he's incredible. I couldn't be more grateful that he's talking about me. Joe Rogan said, this guy. I mean, you know that in and of itself. I go to run the Liver Queen again. This guy that I hold in the absolute highest regard, irrespective of the light he's painting me in. Look at how happy I am. You know, look at how many people that have never heard of me have now heard
Liver
of me.
King? Who? Right?
This is, you know, one of the greatest feelings. I also just do want to say, I think that him saying that is dangerous. You know, I want to set the record straight. I would love the opportunity to talk to him face to face, to really get deep into the 9 ancestral tenets. What I'll share back with you, and I'm just gonna face it head on. I don't touch this stuff. I've never done this stuff. I'm not gonna do this stuff.
What stuff?
The ass full of steroids that he talks about.
You've never taken steroids?
Never taken steroids. I've never done PEDs other than prioritize, execute, and dominate in life. The other day somebody said something about growth hormone.
Omnitrope, this is pharmacy grade human growth hormone.
Somebody said something about insulin. Somebody keeps going off on the deep end and saying, what about designer drugs that nobody can fucking detect? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, what about that, Liver King?
And there's all these peptides too, right? Oh my goodness. I mean, I didn't know how deep this could possibly go. For the record, I haven't taken it, and I don't take it.
And then, you know, there's obviously the thing about the steroid stuff. And I've been around for a long time. I've seen many different people come and go. I have my own opinions about it, but I'm just going to keep it to myself. I'm not going to talk about them publicly because I just don't think it matters a ton. And I think it's on him to explain, you know, what he thinks is right or wrong in terms of whether he does them or doesn't do them. He says that he doesn't do them. I asked him flat out. He said, I don't touch that stuff. And I said, what stuff? And he said, steroids. I said, you've never taken steroids, you know, and we went through the whole thing. And he claims no. So like my point on the actual podcast, I say, there's nothing that we could do right now to prove that you don't take them or to prove that you do take them. There's not really like a test that we can do. Like we could have WADA come in and they could do a urine and blood test and we can do all these things. And Nsima's taken drug tests before, but
doesn't change the fact I'm a fake natty.
Yeah, the internet's going to be like, well, that federation, they also had, you know, John so-and-so, and he fucking failed the drug test later on, or
we just cycle off. That's all we have to do. It's that simple.
It's never going to be good enough for anybody, and they would just say that he paid for it or something like that, right?
Which he did.
Which he probably did.
Definitely did.
He has the money to and the incentive. So.
See?
Yeah.
There's
no way to prove it.
Because you're saying, you know, whether or not it matters or whatever, one of the biggest criticisms is people think that like, oh, he's lying to us. Is there any harm if he was keeping that information to himself while still selling supplements?
Yes. You know, supplements in general, like, do they do anything? Is there a little Santa Claus behind just about every supplement, right? Like it's a belief, you know, BCAAs and amino acids and these different things. I don't know, you know, what they do exactly. Maybe they propel your performance a little bit. Maybe people feel like they do. They certainly don't really seem to quote unquote move the needle in any sort of real drastic way. So I don't know.
Supplements do. Yeah. That's the thing. Only certain supplements.
Get on the mic.
Just like the basics of like creatine monohydrate, electrolytes. What else? Beta alanine makes a difference.
I mean,
caffeine makes a difference, right? But like,
but
for
creatine
years,
also doesn't make like a large difference to where you're like.
Did you
see Jason the other day when he came in? Like, fuck, man, yeah, he's on some creatine.
That's one reason why people forget to take creatine, though, because you don't feel it.
Right.
But that shit, like, I mean, it actually does make a difference workout after workout after workout. It's additive, right? But you don't, that's why people forget, because it's not like caffeine where you can feel it right after. It's not like kratom where you can feel it right after. And it's an interesting thing because it's like, I don't know if he's natural or not, but bodybuilders still, you know, there are a lot of bodybuilders who are huge, who they're obviously on steroids. They're backed by certain supplement companies, BSN backs a bunch. There's a lot, but they don't talk about their steroid use, even though that's something that a lot of people look to now. They're like, you know, you see Greg Doucette, You see, even Chris Bumstem has talked about like what he's doing these days. It's expected that people will be open about what they take, right? Along with whatever else they market. And people look at that as being more honest, or that's a better thing to do. And honestly, at this point, like it is, because it's like, if you are, it doesn't hurt you to be honest about it these days, right? And if Liver King, like, it's an interesting thing. If he is on stuff, right? He's made his money since 2012 already. He's made his money. It's not like he's hurting for money now. But who knows?
Maybe he wants you to believe in the message more, and maybe that's potentially, if he is lying, maybe that would be the incentive, right?
This guy's also not out here saying like the old marketing of supplements, like back in the 2000s, 2010, is like, oh, you take this, you'll get big like me, right? Like people actually were told like, oh, if you do this, if you take this protein, if you take this shit, you're going to look like me, right? This dude isn't saying any of that shit. He's never said if you take my ancestral supplements, you can be big and strong like Liver King. The things that he's really talked about are his fucking tenets. And these are actions that you need to take that are free. And whether you dislike him because you think he's on drugs or whatever, the stuff that he talks about, if you do them, doesn't necessarily put money in his pocket. Power Project family, shut your fucking mouth. We've been talking about breathing through your nose and nasal breathing during your sleep for the past 5 years. That's why we've partnered with Hostage Tape. It's the best tape on the market, sticks to your face even if you have a beard. So head to hostagetape.com/powerproject and you'll be able to get a year's supply of tape for 55 cents a day. That shit saves you $150. It's a no-brainer. Links in the description and the podcast show notes.